And now, on to the fan favorite portion of the show. This week in history, a trivia style. 7 questions, all sent to medium difficulty, all with multiple choice answers. If you can go 7 for 7, you're gonna be happy. It's a great way to start your Sunday. If you can go 7 for 7, you're gonna feel really good about yourself. I got a lot of comments here. I got to go through this. Sexy right, Tony. Those Canadians are going to beg. You say, Tony, promise me a happy ending. And now it's time. Well, I gotta sip. I gotta sip. And now it's time for This Week in History, a trivia style. Question number 1. On July 16th, 1945, what historic event took place in Nuevo Mexico, in New Mexico? July 16th, 1945, what historic event took place in New Mexico? You got to put yourself into 1945. And you have to realize that a very, very short time later, basically, on July 16th, 1945, we found out that we could do a thing. And as quickly as we could, we got that thing to another place, and then we did a thing. And then a couple days later, we did another thing. I have not looked at my multiple choice options. None of what I just said may be true. But if I think it's true, July 16th, 1945, I've given you everything. Oh, James pops in with Trinity. Dropped. I think we're thinking the same thing. Here are your multiple choice options. The first moon rocket launch, 1945. I say no. The Trinity nuclear test. James, the invention of Calypso. That's funny. The first stealth aircraft flight. Nay. I say nay. And the creation of NASA. No. So basically, our multiple choice options pretty much narrowed it down. Because none of them are correct except one of them. And I've given you all the clues. And that is correct. Not much else happens in Nuevos Mexicas. On July 17th, 1955, what famous theme park opened? Yes, Jessica, with a nuclear test. We agree. July 17th, 1955, what famous theme park opened? Was it Six Flags Over Tejas, Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood, or Busch Gardens? July 17th, 1955, what famous theme park opened? Was it Six Flags Over Texas, Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood, or Busch Gardens? James pops in with Disney. I saw an interesting thing about things that are more expensive than a family of 4 at Disney. And they were amazing things. Like a trip for 4 people to go to Paris for a week was cheaper than 4 people going to Disney for a week. I did Disney with my children and have no desire to ever go back. Jessica also says Disney. Again, your options are Six Flags Over Texas, Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood, or Busch Gardens. I disagree with my friends James and Jessica. I believe it's Six Flags Over Tejas. Robert goes Wonder World in Disney. Now, Disneyland and Disney World are two different places, in case you forgot. Where is Disneyland and where is Disney World? And Wonder World Disney is Robert's answer. Never been. My dad has been there like 8 times. Your dad is a crazy man. I have been to both Disneyland, Disney World, and Six Flags Over Texas, and Universal Studios Hollywood. I've never been to Busch Gardens. I have no desire to go to Busch Gardens. I'm going to go with Six Flags Over Texas. That's my answer. The rest of you have chosen Disneyland. Question number 3. Apollo 11 launched towards the moon on July 16th, 1969. Which astronaut stayed in lunar orbit while the other two landed? I've made many Wonder World, Beverly Hills Cop. Yes, I've made many jokes about this throughout the years because the moon is 250,000 miles away, and a round trip is 500,000 miles. And I wouldn't walk 500 miles, I wouldn't walk 500 more. That's 500,000 miles. Can you imagine traveling 250,000 miles and not being able to get out of the car? And then driving 250,000 miles back? I don't know how this man was chosen to not leave the lunar module, but I've always felt sad for him. Who was the astronaut that went all the way to the moon but wasn't allowed out of the car? Was it Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, Alan Shepard, or Jim Lovell? Those are your options. Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, Alan Shepard, or Jim Lovell. I've made enough jokes about this over the years that I know who it is. So I'm not giving you my answer until the end. And as a reminder, Chris Collins, that's funny. I don't know. That's funny. I don't know the answers either. I have a good idea what the answers may be. I think I know what the answers are, but until the end of the question portion of the show, I cannot confirm. Michael. Yes, but Chris Collins was funnier. But I get it. Your answer is Michael Collins. And I'm waiting. Buzz. Jessica goes with Buzz. My favorite drinking game. Buzz. Biz Buzz. Lovell was Apollo 13 commander. Notoriously famous for Houston. We have a problem. Robert, I'm waiting for you to answer. But I can't wait no more. Moving on. Question number 4. Which famous Russian royal family was executed on July 17th, 1918? What famous Russian royal family was executed on July 17th, 1918? I know the answer because I've been in their house. Crazy, I know. Was it the Romanovs, the Tudors, the Habsburgs, or the Bourbons? What famous royal family was executed on July 17th, 1918? Was it the Romanovs, the Tudors, the Habsburgs, or the Bourbons? Extra point if you can remember the name of one of the family members that escaped. Turns out that person did not escape. They were just murdered in a different location and found later. But it was a big mystery. Robert's going to go with the Tudors. Interesting that you would choose that. Again, which famous royal Russian family was executed on July 17, 1918? The options are the Romanovs, the Tudors, the Habsburgs, or the Bourbons. James says Romanov. Robert says the Tudors. Jessica has yet to answer. And my new friend Rose is not watching live, but it's early. She may watch later. I have my answer, and my answer is the correct answer, and I'm not sharing it with you because I don't want anybody cheating off my exam. Question number 5. Oh, Jessica goes with the Romanovs as well. Question number 5. On July 18th, 1968, which company announced the Intel 4004 project that would eventually lead to the first commercial microprocessor? July 18th, 1968, what company announced the Intel 4004 project that would eventually lead to the first... I got the hiccups! That would eventually lead to the first commercial... God bless America. Sorry. July 18th, 1968, what company announced the Intel 4004 project that would eventually lead to the first commercial microprocessor? Was it IBM, Motorola, Intel, or Texas Instruments? Robert says IBM. James says Intel. It's Microsoft. Jessica has yet to answer. What company announced? James, or maybe IBM. I can't make up your mind for you, man. You have to choose an answer. IBM, Motorola, Intel, or Texas Instruments. I believe simply because it's called the Intel 4004 project that the name of the company is Intel. That's what I'm going to go with. I may be right. I may be crazy. James settles on Intel. He may be right. He may be crazy. On July 14th, 1789, which event marked the beginning of the Révolution des Français, the French Revolution? What was the event that started the French Revolution? Here are your options. Was it the storming of the Bastille, the Reign of Terror, the Tennis Court Oath, or the execution of Louis XVI? XVI. Yeah, that's 16. Intercontinental ballistic missile. On July 14, 1789, which event marked the beginning of the French Revolution? Was it the storming of the Bastille, the Reign of Terror, the Tennis Court Oath, or the execution of Louis XVI? I have my answer, but I'm not giving you my answer until we've answered all the answers. James goes with the storming of the Bastille. Robert and Jessica are taking their sweet time. Louis. There we go. He guessed the wrong answer. Bum, 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 bum. Robert, he guessed. All right, and question number 7. Which legendary musician died on July 17th, 1996? After helping pioneer Latin jazz, after helping pioneer Latin jazz and Afro-Cuban music. Jessica goes with Bastille, I see it. Was it Tito Puente, Celia Cruz, Campane Segunda, or Cano Pozo? All right, I'm just going to go with Tito Puente because that's the only name out of those that I can pronounce correctly. Celia Cruz, Celia Cruz, Compe Segunda. I don't know any of these other people. I know Tito Puente. That's my answer. I'm going with Tito Puente. And before I type in the answers, please, I'm going to say the Trinity Test, Six Flags Over Texas, Michael Collins, the Romanovs, Intel, the Storming of the Bastille, and Tito Puente. These are my answers. The first one. He doesn't want to type it wrong. James goes with Tito Puente. Robert goes with Tito Puente. I am typing in answers, please. Here are the answers. Punta. For this, Jessica didn't get her answer in. Tito. Okay, she did. On July 16, 1945, the world's first successful detonation of a nuclear weapon took place at the Trinity site in New Mexico. July 16th. When did we bomb Hiroshima? August the 6th, which was as fast as we could get the bomb there. Just 3 weeks later. On July 17th, 1955, Disneyland opened to the public after its televised preview, forever changing the theme park industry. So for those of you who chose Disneyland, you were right. I was wrong. Sucks to be me. Apollo 11 launched towards the moon on July 16th, 1969, and who was the astronaut left behind? It was Michael Collins. Yes. I went all the way to the moon, and all my friends got me was this dumbass T-shirt. The Romanov family, including Tsar Nicholas II and his immediate family, were executed during the Russian Civil War. No, I can't go 7 for 7. Can you? The Romanovs were the family that was murdered during the Russian Revolution because they were in charge, so they got unincharged. Oh, I got a great... this question is inaccurate. The Intel 4004 project didn't begin until 1960. Intel was founded in July 1968, but the 4004 microprocessor was developed later and introduced in 1971. So, what does that mean? The answer was Intel. That's the answer. So if you didn't choose Intel, you got that one wrong. Question number 6. What was the beginning of the French Revolution? The storming of the Bastille. Yeah, you get a whole bunch of crazy people in your palace killing everybody. That's going to start a revolution. An interesting thing, if you ever find yourself in Paris, the interesting thing is they killed so many people via the guillotine. they beheaded so many people with the guillotine that they would have to move the stage where the guillotines took place because the ground became soaked with blood and it was bad. So they would mark where they had the guillotine and then they would move it over a distance apart. And then they would continue with the murdering until the blood became soaked, the ground became soaked with blood, and then they would mark where the guillotine was, and they would move it over. So if you ever find yourself in Paris and you see just a bunch of random stamps in the ground of a large grassy area, that's where it happened. That's where it happened. All right. La 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 la. So yes, we answered with the Bastille. And the final question, we all got wrong. But it gives us a replacement question. I freaking hate AI. I hate AI so much. Which legendary musician died on July 17, 1996? The intended answer was Chano Pozo, but he died in 1948, 1996. I have AI checking AI and finding out that AI is wrong. It gave me a replacement question. The replacement question is, on July 17th, 1975, what historic event occurred in space? July 17th, 1975, what historic event occurred in space? Was it Apollo 13 returned safely to Earth? The first space shuttle launched? The Apollo-Soyuz spacecraft docked in orbit? Or Skylab re-entered Earth's atmosphere? It's a replacement question given to us by AI because AI gave us a bum question. On July 17, 1975, what historic event occurred in space? Apollo 13 returned safely to Earth. The first space shuttle launch? Wrong. The Apollo-Soyuz spacecraft docked in orbit? Possibly. Skylab re-entered Earth's atmosphere? Likely. Calypso is not an option. Here's the answer. Guess at your own will. The answer was the Apollo-Soyuz spacecraft docked in orbit. I also thought it was Skylab. But that is the correct answer. And that is this week's supplemental. Wrong. You're wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you today, as I remind you every day, just be the best person that you can be. And if you were a great person today, be an even better person tomorrow. Chick Bruce sends her love. A new episode of the supplemental is coming soon. Oh, no, not the supplemental. A new episode of the Lunds B Show. It's coming soon. And that's going to wrap it up for us. Love you.